Day 2, VMware Explore Barcelona, and we are back with our good friend, Mr. Kit Colbert, CTO of VMware. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Yes. Start with the most important question.
Yep.
Tapas. Any favorite tapas here in Barcelona?
Oh yeah, I mean, all of them.
All the tapas.
the Iberian ham is the classic.
That's a staple.
Some cheese with that, patatas bravas. I mean, you could go all day.
I agree.
Or all night, maybe. I don't know.
There you go. Well, yeah, and I do want to start one more thing before we actually get into some tech, but congratulations, 20 years at
Thank
VMware.
you.
That's insane.
Thank you. Yep, just hit the milestone back in September.
Yeah.
It's insane to think about.
Yeah.
20 years. I'm like, where did that 20 years go exactly?
I saw a picture of you on Twitter 20 years ago, and it was next to a picture of you now, and it looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to find an old picture of me. Yeah, I feel like my 20 years at VMware is kind of like the saying, of parenting. The days are long, but the years are short type situation. I don't know how 20 years went by, but it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was just in some other media press briefing, and they were asking about my time, asking like, how has the industry changed? And I'm like, dude.
You mean within the last 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last 20 years, like where do I even start? I don't know.
Right.
So it's kind of wild.
Yeah, and obviously things are changing rapidly. Clearly the buzzword is AI everywhere.
Yep.
Chris Wolf obviously was announcing on center stage in general session about Private AI Foundation.
Yep.
And some of the new partnerships and stuff. So I would love to hear your take on that. Like,
Sure.
Why is VMware so heavily focused on AI?
Yeah. Well, I think hopefully the reason is fairly self-evident. I mean, generative AI has taken the world's imagination, and every single customer we talk to is talking about generative AI. And I think most folks are still in the very early stages of it, though. And they're not really sure, how do I take advantage of this while also preserving privacy, security, confidentiality. There's a lot of risks that people are worried about. Things around data leakage, things around IP contamination. And so I think folks are trying to think through, how do we do this in a way that avoids those risks while still realizing all the amazing value that's there.
So internally, how are we going through those challenges ourselves? Like, what are we looking at? What tooling?
Yep. Yeah, well, it's interesting, and this is another good example. I think, actually, taking a step back, it's pretty funny. As VMware, we are a large enterprise.
Yeah.
We are not dissimilar from many of our large enterprise customers. And what's interesting about it is we have the same set of problems, right? So, we use AI a lot internally, and what we've seen over the past year has been a tremendous interest and actual use of AI, Gen AI, internally as well. So we have the same set of issues, and our board of directors, the audit committee that I have to report out to every quarter, have the same concerns around what are you doing about all these risks, Kit? And it's
Sure.
like, ooh, okay, that makes it real. So we're doing a couple of things, right? So we've got the marketing team is using generative AI. It can summarize a transcript of an interview and pull out choice quotes. It can help them create copy. Our customer experience, or success team, I should say, is using it as well to help customer support folks better figure out what's going on for a customer and triage their issue. We're using it within engineering to do code generation, and so our engineers are leveraging it to help accelerate the productivity.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so we are using it a lot, and one of the things that we've had to do is actually create something we call the AI Council, which helps to govern and set up guidelines and policies about internal use. And the reason to do that is to try and strike that same balance I talked about, is allowing people to take advantage of this tech, but also saying, hey, we got to have some guardrails here to make sure that we're using it in a way that reduces or eliminates those risks.
Mm-hmm. No, it is fun, like you say. We are a large company, so we have to find those balances, and it is interesting though, seeing that we're still finding ways to be agile and adopt this and pull it forward without.
And we are, right? We're trying to be very open-minded about it. So we moved pretty quickly through this AI Council evolution. So at first we were like, don't use any Gen AI related things that are directly customer facing unless they've been reviewed by a human first. If it's a purely internal project, or if you're in marketing and that generates some text for you, but then you as a human go through and edit it, that's totally fine. But we didn't want us to directly open like a self-service portal to a Gen AI thing, until we had some more time to vet it. So what we've done is, so that allowed people to go and do stuff, but we had some guardrails. And then we went through and we created this thing we call the Trustworthy AI Questionnaire. And it really has people go through a lot of depth to make sure they're thinking about all the different risks and contingencies and so forth. And once they've done that, we now have an approval process to say, yeah, you can actually release.
Oh, so we can create new use cases and adopt them.
And like we actually saw this. So we have something called Tanzu Intelligent Assist, which is a generative AI capability, essentially a chatbot built into Tanzu that can help a user with anything they need, like learn the product, do something in the product, execute something for them, get more information about something, et cetera, et cetera.
So is it like Clippy, or is like a Clippy on steroids?
Don't even go there. Yeah, I mean, I guess if Clippy actually worked and wasn't annoying, no,
things changed in 20 years.
I know, yeah.
Good point.
But no, so now they're on the verge of releasing that for initial availability.
Okay.
And we went through that Trustworthy AI Questionnaire with that team, and I think it. First of all, they're obviously really, really strong team, but it also helped them think through some of those issues.
Yeah, I was speaking to one of the folks on that team yesterday, actually, and he was telling me how it's certainly there's a lot of context into, it knows a lot of information that you as the administrator might not know. It has the ability to consume all of the information and answer questions with all of the context that we may miss. So it's not just like Clippy where it's just trying to find an answer. It truly has all the context. And so when you ask a question like, how much does this cost me, or how long is it going to take to do this? It can consider have all the context and consider all of that.
And what we're doing is, we have this model that we've sort of fine-tuned to the Tanzu environment. But what we're doing is actually doing some prompt engineering. Based on your prompt, we'll pull in a bunch of extra data into the prompt that we do that automatically. So, your configuration information, your inventory information, whatever is relevant to the question you have, we'll pop all that into the prompt, and that way the large language model that's running in the back end there can spit out an answer that's actually specific to your environment.
Yeah, and understand your context within that environment.
Exactly.
That's pretty great. One kind of last question I had is, obviously working over, the office of CTO, working over the R&D side, AI is very much kind of the next thing that's here in the hype cycle, very here and now. What are some of the other areas I guess you're looking at that are still I guess early or potential areas? What are you looking a bit farther out?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, let's just be clear. Although the hype cycle is heavy with AI, the mass adoption is not there yet. Right, people are thinking about it. People are playing with it. We don't see as much in production yet, especially from an engineering standpoint, like building it into product. So we still think there's a good 3 to 5 years, at least, of that. And as a matter of fact, most of our internal innovation incubation projects are now 100% focused on the AI, Gen AI space.
So Chris's team's just really...
Yeah, so Chris Wolf, he used to be our Chief Research and Innovation Officer, which he still is, but we've given him a new title, which is VP for VMware AI Labs. And that's because we basically took his whole team, which did all sorts of different things, lots of different academic research and edge and cloud native apps, all sorts of stuff, and said, hey, finish out your current projects and focus on AI. And I think it's because of the fact that it's going to be such a transformative technology and the fact that we're such an early stage. Like, one of the interesting things I think about where we're going, where the industry is going with generative AI is that, yes, if you look at AI traditionally, it was much the domain of the data scientists, data engineers, mathematicians, trying to get all that stuff right. And certainly these large language models are part of that. However, what you find is that when you actually try to stand up and productize or move into production one of these large language models, you have to build a pretty large system around it. You're going to have pieces of AI that do pre-processing, like we talked about with Tanzu, pull in the right sort of data, that's retrieval augmented generation type stuff. You have pieces of AI that sit on the backside that look at what comes out of the large language model. You're going to do some sort of classifier model to look for things like hate speech because you don't want it saying terrible stuff, right? So you're going to have monitoring to look at the performance and also track over time the outputs. And so this is actually a systems engineering problem, is what we're seeing.
And it maps to all the different kind of areas and bottlenecks.
And like, I think what it does is it maps to a lot of what we're already doing at VMware, which is interesting. Like, we are a systems engineering company. That's what we do. And so I think, we look at the opportunity there, and I compare it to the cloud native space. And when Docker first came out, it was like late 2013, 2014 timeframe. And it really hit its stride 2015, 2016. I think we're still kind of in that maybe even 2014, 2015 phase, right? Where we're still years away from this mass adoption. And so for me, while it's clear that AI is going to be a thing, I think what is less clear is exactly how it's going to evolve. And so the big thing that we're focused on is how to actually make this real, make it truly democratized so that anyone can use it. And that's the big focus for the next few years.
All those ancillary projects and things. This is great.
There's a ton of stuff, yeah.
It reminds me of, like when Google first came out with the search engine, and it really kind of revolutionized the way a lot of people do work and stuff. And it was like, I think this is going to be, this is going to be a pretty big thing,
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely think
prompt engineering, that's a
it
job.
Is. I mean,
just the person who writes the query,
Well, but that's the thing. It's like the prompt is like the code in this metaphor. It's natural language, natural human language, but you still need to be thoughtful about how to structure that.
Right.
And so, I do think, just like you need to be thoughtful about how you do a Google search and what keywords, blah, 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 it's going to be the same thing here. So I do think there's going to be a big learning curve that'll be there as well.
Yeah, exciting times, and there's going to be a lot more to come in AI, I'm sure. We're at the beginning stages of it. Kit, thanks so much for sharing this information. Enjoy the rest of your week at
Awesome.
VMware Explore.
Thanks for having me.
All right.